The implementation date of the Massachusetts home inspection law has been moved from July 15th to October the 15th, but the final regulations are now out. The regulators have hit their deadline according to the law of June 15th. Sorry, there's a lot of 15ths there, but I want to talk to you all about the highlights of what has come out in the regulations, and then later in the summer, very early in September at the latest, we'll come out with a full substantive video on every single aspect. We'll go over forms, etc. So let me read through and tell you about a couple of noteworthy things to keep in mind right now. I already mentioned that the regulation, let me read it right from here. The regulation will apply to contracts signed after October 15, 2025, allowing time for training, outreach, and form updates. So that's good news. That gives all of us in the industry some time to prepare, and at least it isn't happening in the middle of busy season. In addition to that, there's a couple of noteworthy things that we took note of. The rigid 10-day window, they agreed, was causing unnecessary delays. If you remember right, in the law and in the initial regulations, there was mention of this 10-day post-home inspection. The buyers would have 10 days to consider moving forward or not, and everyone said, 10 days? That's crazy. That's going to add a lot of time to the transaction. You'd be 17 to 20 days in and not be sure if the buyer's moving forward. That is gone now, and what they said is buyers and sellers can now negotiate a reasonable time frame. I like that. Kudos to the regulators for doing the right thing there. The other one that is noteworthy, there is now a disclosure requirement from sellers. This reminds me of lead paint. Let me read. Sellers must now provide a separate written disclosure form informing buyers of their inspection rights. EOHLC will develop a standard version of this form. So that's essentially state regulators saying they'll do that. And obviously our Mass Association of Realtors, I'm sure, will do a terrific job coming out with a great form. There's other talk about some sort of exemptions or a gray area with respect to home new construction. And then there is mention, and there, this is that part of the law that says if you, the realtor, don't do it right, we're coming after you, sort of thing, right? Targeted professional penalties. The final regulation makes clear that if a real estate professional fails to provide the required disclosure, it is a violation of the consumer protection law, while other violations may be considered violations depending on circumstances. So they're really serious about this disclosure. As I said, we'll obviously be out with more substance on this in the fall. In the meantime, stay tuned in, keep it in your browser, Massachusetts Realtors. Stay tuned in to mahomeinspectionlaw.com. I was on Fox 25 the other day with Gene Levanchi, and we discussed all of this. I said my feelings, which is this law shouldn't be in place anyway. It's completely wrong. It doesn't do anyone any favors, and all it does is confuse things and takes away rights from sellers and buyers. And I want the lawmakers to hear that, because a buyer should have a right to waive a home inspection and say, hey, Mr. Seller, hey, Mr. Listing Agent, I'm not doing an inspection. Well, this law sort of gets in the way of that. And a seller should have the right to counter an offer with, hey, I'll only take one of yours if there's no inspection. But this takes those rights away, and that's what I don't like. But it is what it is. The law's passed, the final regulations are out. I need to turn the page and go into education mode, and that's what I'm doing here. So if you want to see that news segment, you want to see the updated regulations, whatever, tune into mahomeinspectionlaw.com. That's all. Good luck. Happy home selling.